Hey, fourth graders, what's up? It's Mr. Peters here. Going to do our review of the quiz for this week. So, a few things with it. Remember, we're working with decimals here and trying to find fractions that are equivalent or decimals that are equivalent to it. So, our first question was, which of the following are equivalent to 0.7? And remember, if you were looking at your place value spots, this would be our ones. This is our tenths. So, really, when we look at it, it should be quite easy for us. It's 7/10. Okay, and so once again, I'm just going to quickly write out here on our board. Remember that we have decimal, and then here we have right size tenths, hundredths, sorry, I know it's wrong, and then thousands. Sorry, right sideways. So we have tenths, hundredths, and thousandths there. So we go back whenever we finish our fraction, or sorry, our decimal here, whatever spot it's lined up with, that's the spot that we would say. So we had our decimal and then a 7 there. So it's in the 10th spot. So it is 7/100. So on your first quiz question here, it would be 7/10. That's why we really want you to practice on reading the decimals like that. I know a lot of times us adults and things like that, we say 0.7. Okay, and yep, that's true. But it also helps if you read it that way, the other way of 7/10, because then you can find that equivalent fraction. True or false, 0.6 or 6/100, sorry, 6/10 equals 60/100. Now, once again, if we look at that, let me erase our 7/10 here. If we put a 6 here, that's 6/10. Now, if you think about money, that would be the same as 6 dimes. That's in our dime spot. And then when we go over here, if we do 60/100, well, it takes 60 pennies to make that. So we have 6/10 and 60/100. Those would be equal because 6 dimes is equal to the same amount as 60 pennies. It's the same worth, the same value. Then, which fraction is equivalent to this decimal here? Now, I was taking a peek at some of my students' results, and this is probably the question that most people got a boo-boo on. This is number 4, actually. So double checking there, that 8 is actually in the hundredths spot. So when we write our decimal there, or we want to read our decimal, if we have a decimal, we had 0/10 and then 8/100. Okay, that is in the hundredth spot. So once again, when we read it, 0/10, 8/100, it is just said as 8/100 or 0.08. But 8/100 would be the best way to do it, because then when you're asked to find an equivalent fraction, 80/100, no. 8,000ths, nope. 8/10, no. 8/100. And another thing, once again, if you think about like with money, this would be 8 cents. It takes 100 cents to make a dollar. So we had 8 out of the 100. So our answer would be 8/100. True or false, 4/5 is greater than 8/10. Work with our fractions here. So 4/5. If you remember one of the other lessons I did with you guys, we talked about changing fractions. So we're comparing it to 8/10. So one of the things we can do is we can change our fifths into tenths simply by multiplying by 2. So if we multiply the bottom by 2, we need to multiply the top by 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So these are actually equivalent or equal fractions. So 4/5 cannot be bigger. So that'd be false. Then here our story problem. Mrs. Clausen and Mr. Peters were both eating a Hershey's candy bar. Mr. Peters ate 3/4 of the bar and Mrs. Clausen ate 2/3 of the bar. Who ate more? Now, just to clarify on this one, there's 2 separate candy bars. I had my own and Mrs. Clausen had her own, because if you viewed it as just one candy bar, we wouldn't be able to do it because 3/4 and 2/3 would be more than a whole. But when we're comparing our fractions, once again, we can do multiplication. So we're doing 3/4 for me, 2/3 for Mrs. Clausen. And if I think about what number they share in common as a multiple of them, I'm going to go to the number 12. So I'm going to do times 3, which equals 12. And then I'm going to do the bottom. I need to do the top. So times 3, and that's 9. And then the lovely Mrs. Clausen, she ate that. So we're going to multiply it by 4, which gets us to 12 again. And then times 4 here, which gets us to 8. So our new fractions, 9/12 for me, 8/12 for her. I clearly pigged out an 8 more than she did. Okay. Once again, you could build it with bars, but when you're trying to build some of these fractions, it can get a little bit tricky. Another way to look at it, if we're comparing 3/4 to 2/3, we're both one piece away from a whole. I'm 1/4 away. She's 1/3 away. She is further away because a third is bigger than a fourth. So even though we're both only one piece of candy bar away from getting to the whole thing, hers is a little bit different. All right. Have a great day, guys. Keep up the great work. And we miss you guys, and I hope you're enjoying some of the lovely weather we're having lately. Bye.